Reborn, I'm no longer obsessed with having a soldier husband. When I returned to life in the 20th century, I made a quiet decision. I would put my sister's name on the marriage application this time. Paul deserved happiness, and if that happiness came from her, then so be it. In this life, I was the one who gave my sister her wedding dress. I was the one who placed the engagement ring on her finger. I was the one who quietly arranged their meetings, never once drawing attention to myself. He took my sister to Beijing, and without hesitation, I chose Shanghai for my studies. Because in my past life I had already lived past 50, worn down by years of sacrifice, only to have my son and husband beg me to divorce so he could finally be with my sister. This time around I wanted freedom. I didn't want to be tangled in love anymore. Chapter 1. Just fill it out and give it to me. Paul tapped impatiently on the desk, his fingers drumming against the wood. I stared at the marriage application, my fingertips grazing the edge of the paper as memories drifted through my mind. In my past life, I had filled out that form like it was a sacred promise. I dragged him to buy wedding candy, excited and hopeful. But instead of gratitude, I got scolded, because he wanted to hurry back and make brown sugar water for Camila, who was on her period. I mumbled, I know, not really meaning it. Looking up, I saw his impatience again, the way he checked his watch repeatedly. Today he wore a white shirt, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, showing off his strong forearms. Camila always loved that look. He looked clean, fresh, just the way she liked. You go ahead if you're busy, I said, forcing a casual tone. I'll hand it in when I'm done. He seemed relieved, his voice softening slightly. Don't worry, since we're getting married, I'll take responsibility for you, he said. But don't be jealous of Camila anymore. People might talk, and it could hurt her reputation. He fell silent. I'd heard those words before, many times over in my previous life. To him, I was always the jealous, petty sister who couldn't accept how sweet and kind Camila was. He didn't say anything else and quickly left. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the storm inside me. My mind replayed the events of my last life. The wedding night he skipped because his sick sister needed him, the army trips where only Camila accompanied him, even the day our son was born. Paul wasn't there. He was too busy comforting Camila, who had just gone through a divorce. And right before his death, my own son whispered into my ear, Mom just divorced Dad. You're nothing compared to Aunt Camila. Dad has suffered staying with you all these years. Let him go. I looked at Paul, lying silently by my side, unmoved. That silence told me everything. I bit my lip hard until I tasted blood, slowly loosening my grip. Well, this time I wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. I picked up the pen and wrote one name in the applicant field. Camila. Paul, since you love her so much, then have it your way. I handed the completed form to the staff, accepted the marriage certificate, and walked out of the civil affairs office. I wasn't sad. In fact, I felt something close to liberation. Chapter 2. In my previous life, after our parents died due to work-related accidents, Camila and I were adopted by the Liu family. She was sweet-talking and clever with words, so they doted on her more than their own daughter. Liu's mother had long been scheming to marry Camila off to Paul. But Camila, with a simple line, I don't want to fight with my sister, made Paul willingly marry me. The truth was, she was waiting for something better. At the time, Paul was only a company commander, and she was holding out for someone more promising. I went to the school to inquire about university preparations, what documents I needed, what living expenses I should budget for, and left feeling at peace. When I returned to Paul's quarters, I barely stepped inside when I heard Camila's playful voice. Paul, if you come back to be with me instead of your sister, will she get upset? It's fine. I can visit her anytime. But every time you come, you get so close to her. I'm worried. Camila smiled happily, then feigned sadness. After you and my sister get married, will you still be good to me? Of course, Paul replied firmly. Who else would I be good to if not you? I clenched my fists so tightly that I almost lost control. Even in this second life, hearing my husband speak so coldly about me still hurt. I steadied myself, buried the ache in my chest, and walked into the room as if nothing was wrong. Paul came out of Camila's room looking awkward. I just saw that Camila wasn't feeling well, so I went in to check on her. I gave a faint and turned toward my room. In my previous life, I had fought him countless times over his closeness to Camila. This time I refused to waste my energy on it. He stopped me. "Rita, how about we buy some wedding candies and distribute them to the wives in the staff quarters?" His suggestion surprised me. Maybe he was trying to make up for things now that I wasn't causing a scene. No need. There's no point in these formalities. He looked stunned. I suppose he hadn't expected me to decline. "Is it because you're upset that Paul is taking care of me?" Camila stepped out, looking innocent and wronged. She was wearing the linen suit I had bought specifically for our wedding photos, a popular outfit in the 1950s. I had saved for half a year to afford it in my past life but had never dared to wear it. Noticing my gaze, she quickly explained, "I saw this outfit on your bed today and liked it, so I tried it on. I forgot to take it off." She lowered her head, twisting her fingers like a child caught doing something wrong. Paul instinctively started to speak, but I cut him off. "It looks good on you, so keep it. I never wore it anyway." Even now, I could still smell the faint traces of blood and sweat on that suit. The memory of running home crying in the middle of the night came flooding back. Disgusted me. In the stunned silence, I returned to my room and locked the door behind me. I pulled out a folder containing my acceptance letter to South City University. I had always dreamed of studying in the South, especially since their finance program was exactly what I wanted. In my past life, I had given up my dreams for Paul, content to stay home and serve my in-laws. This time I had the chance to live for myself. I glanced at the calendar. Days. Only 10 days left until I could leave this place. Time was tight, but I had to make the most of every moment. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Irritated, I opened the door. Paul stood there holding a bowl of noodles. "You must be hungry. I made you some noodles." For a moment, I felt a strange sense of nostalgia. In my past life, he was either cold or harsh with his words. This warm, affectionate Paul was someone I hadn't seen in a long time. "No thanks, I ate outside." "Impossible," he said. "You've always been too stingy to spend money." His words stung. I used to save every penny, spending most of my part-time earnings on him, buying him things. Now I had university expenses to think about. Every penny mattered. I looked up at him calmly. "I remember giving you 50 yuan a few days ago to buy wedding supplies. It seems you haven't bought anything. Please return it to me." Chapter 3. He froze for a moment, then awkwardly muttered, "That money I used it to buy Camila some little leather shoes." I couldn't help but sneer. Always the same story. "Well, never mind. I'm going to bed," I said, closing the door behind me. "I'll give you the money tomorrow," he added, irritation creeping into his voice. "We're married. Do you really need to be so calculating?" I couldn't help but snort. "So it's okay for you to spend my hard-earned money on someone else, and I'm not even allowed to be upset about it?" He knew he was in the wrong but still muttered under his breath, "Unreasonable." I didn't feel like arguing anymore and slammed the door shut. The next few days I sold off some of the useless items around the house, those sentimental keepsakes from my past life, full of painful memories. Looking at them now, they were just cheap junk. I packed them all up and sold them to a scrap collector for a little cash. In the afternoon, while I continued packing, Paul appeared holding 50 yuan in his hand. He spoke stiffly. "Here's your money." I took it and nodded. "Thank you." He looked at me with a complicated expression, his eyes drifting to the suitcase I was filling. "I plan to take Camila to Beijing with the army first. You don't need to keep packing." I didn't stop packing. He nodded. He seemed uneasy with my attitude, unsure of how to respond. "What's wrong with you lately? You're like a different person." I turned my head in mild annoyance. not wanting to get into it. If he found out that Camila's name was on the marriage application, he might renew our marriage just for her sake. I had no intention of getting involved with that pair again. It's nothing. I just want to pack my things, I said. When you go to Beijing, I'll move back to the countryside. He let out a relieved sigh. It's not that I'm not letting you come with me, it's just that Camila has never been to Beijing, and she wants to see it. I'll come get you in a few months. I nodded absent-mindedly. In my past life he never came for 8 years. It wasn't until Camila married a division commander that he finally took me to Beijing out of frustration. He seemed unaccustomed to me now. Usually I chattered constantly whenever we were alone. Now I barely spoke, and he grew restless. You've always wanted to take wedding photos, right? Let's go to the photo studio tomorrow. That wouldn't work. Tomorrow I plan to buy supplies for university. Just as I was thinking of an excuse, Camila walked in, clinging to Paul's arm. Paul, what photo studio? I want to take photos too. Paul smiled and ruffled Camila's hair. All right, let's go tomorrow. You two go ahead. I have something to do tomorrow, I said. Paul frowned. What could be more important than taking wedding photos? Go ahead and take the photos. I'll go with you to buy things afterward. His tone was firm, leaving no room for refusal. Camila pouted. Are you not going because of me? I didn't want to argue further, so I nodded in agreement to go. Early the next morning, I heard Paul coaxing Camila to get up in her room. The bright red numbers on the calendar reminded me. Only 4 days left. In 4 days, I would finally be free of this life. Just as I was on the verge of losing patience, they slowly emerged from the room. Paul, ever considerate, had prepared hot water and was personally washing Camila's face. I couldn't believe I had been so blind in my past life, thinking that marrying him would mean he'd treat me the same way. Lost in thought, I barely noticed Paul walking over to me with a ring in his hand. The neighbors said it's trendy to wear wedding rings now. I bought one for you. I didn't take it. In my past life there was no such ring. As soon as Camila saw it, she pouted. It's so pretty. I want one too. I offered generously. You can have it. Paul's face darkened instantly. Stop joking, this is our wedding ring. Camila snatched the ring from him and slid it onto her finger, waving it in front of Paul. Paul, does it look good on me? He looked at Camila, eyes full of affection, smiling foolishly. Then he turned to me, a little guilt in his eyes. I'll buy you one next time. I nodded indifferently. I had heard that promise many times before. None of them were ever kept. Chapter 4. At the photo studio, Camila took the first set of photos, including several couple shots. When it was my turn with Paul, the photographer raised his camera, only to awkwardly lower it. Sorry, the film is used up, he said. I inwardly rejoiced but kept a neutral expression. Oh, that's fine. After we left the studio, Paul pulled a train ticket from his pocket and handed it to me. It was for a seat to Beijing, scheduled 4 days from now. I didn't mean to leave you behind, he said. I'll go ahead to settle in, and I'll be waiting for you in Beijing. The trip takes 3 days and nights. I couldn't understand how he thought I'd manage. Moreover, there was only one slot for a military spouse. Where would he have me stay? But asking now wouldn't yield a satisfying answer. I accepted the ticket, and Paul visibly relaxed. Don't worry, even if you don't stay in the military compound, you're still my only wife, he said. I'll treat you well. I just consider Camila as a sister. I softened a bit at his words. How long had it been since I heard him speak so gently? Suddenly, a truck came speeding around the corner straight toward us. Paul pulled Camila into his arms and dodged the vehicle. In the confusion, I was pushed aside. I froze in place, unable to move as the car barreled toward me. The vehicle swerved at the last second, hitting me and dragging me along. Pain surged through me. I felt dizzy, cold sweat beading on my forehead. The driver hurriedly jumped out of the car, stammering. Miss, are you okay? A crowd gathered around, pointing and murmuring, and my gaze cut through the crowd of onlookers, settling on Paul. He was holding Camila tightly, comforting her, completely unaware, or perhaps uncaring about what had just happened to me. I smiled bitterly, and with that, the last trace of hesitation inside me vanished. So this was what he meant by, "I'll treat you well in the future." The driver rushed me to the hospital, where after a series of checks, I found out I only had minor injuries, some bruises and light internal bruising. Lying in the hospital bed, my body ached, but my mind felt strangely calm. Late into the night, Paul finally showed up, looking exhausted. When he saw I was awake, he hesitated at the door for a moment before stepping in. "Rita, how are you feeling? Is it better?" I gave him a cold look but didn't answer. He rubbed his hands together nervously, trying to explain. Camila was really scared I stayed with her the whole time, so. Under my steady gaze he faltered, then tried again. The situation was urgent. She was closer to me, so I instinctively. He paused, clearly searching for the right words. "I didn't know you were going to get hit," I interrupted. Then I asked, "When are you leaving for Beijing?" He hesitated. "Tomorrow." "All right. I need to rest. You can go now." I closed my eyes, signaling that I wanted to be left alone. Paul seemed like he wanted to say more, but sensing my discomfort, he quietly walked out. The next day, Lou's mother came. She brought a thermos with soup and wore a big smile. "Paul asked me to come take care of you," she said cheerfully. "How are you feeling now?" "Much better, thank you, Mom," I replied politely. As she served me the soup, she started chatting. "That boy Paul, he's so careless. I wonder if he'll even manage to take care of Camila properly." She stopped midway, as if suddenly realizing what she'd said, and fell awkwardly silent. "Mom, actually, it's Camila who married Paul," I said casually. Lou's mother froze. After a long pause, she finally reacted. What did you say?" "I submitted Camila's name on the marriage application," I repeated calmly. Her face lit up with joy. "Rita, you're such a good child. I always knew you were the most sensible one." She excitedly grabbed my hand. "Thank you, Rita. Thank you for making this possible for them." I smiled faintly but said nothing. Helping them wasn't about kindness, it was about helping myself. She was always inclined toward Camila. Even in my past life, no matter how hard I tried to serve her, she still left everything to Camila in the end. "Mom, don't tell Paul or Camila about this yet," I said. All right, Mom understands," she grinned from ear to ear. "Then what are your plans for the future?" she asked. "In a few days I'll be leaving," I said vaguely, not disclosing my destination. Lou's mother wanted to ask more, but I closed my eyes, pretending to fall asleep. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, I didn't notify anyone. Before I left, I wrote a letter to Paul. "Paul, by the time you read this letter, I will already be on a train heading south. I know you've always loved Camila, and I'm letting you two be together. Our fate is over. I wish you both happiness." I sealed the letter along with the Beijing train ticket and our marriage certificate, and sent them all to Beijing. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I stepped onto the platform. The air in the southern city was moist and warm, and when I stood in front of the Shanghai campus, I felt a little dazed. Walking through the campus grounds, I felt as though I had been reborn. During the day, I sat in class, diligently listening and absorbing knowledge. At night, I worked at a small restaurant, serving dishes, washing plates, and aching all over from exhaustion. But this fatigue made me feel grounded. A month later, I had gradually adapted to this busy but fulfilling life. Then one day, I saw Paul standing downstairs at the dormitory. "Rita, why did you do this?" His voice was filled with anger and confusion. "Why did you put Camila's name on the marriage application? Why didn't you go to Beijing?" I looked at him coldly. "I don't want to live with someone else's husband in my heart. It's disgusting. Unbearable." He stared at me in disbelief. "How can you say such things? You weren't like this before." I turned my face away, nausea rising in my stomach. I didn't want to look at him. Not for a second. Paul, I just want to focus on my studies and start a new life. Camila is the one you've always wanted, right? You two should cherish each other. Please don't disturb me anymore. He angrily ran his hands through his hair. What nonsense are you talking about? I've always treated Camila like a sister. I sneered. What kind of siblings hug each other and steal kisses? I once caught you kissing a sleeping Camila. That tender expression on your face. I'll never forget. His face flashed with shame, but then he grew furious. Rita, stop spouting nonsense. Me and Camila are completely innocent. The sibling love you talk about is disgusting to me. Let me go, and let yourself go too. His face darkened, but he couldn't find anything to say. I remembered when I first arrived at the Liu family as a child, the fear of being dependent on others, afraid to even eat my fill. On nights when hunger overwhelmed me, I would sneak out to eat leaves from the garden, and Paul saw me. He shared his snacks with me and comforted me. Rita, don't be afraid. I'll protect you from now on. That warmth back then made me fall for him step by step. In the following days, Paul still lingered around the school, but I avoided him deliberately. I didn't expect that he would go to the principal and demand my expulsion. When I was called into the principal's office, Paul was sitting stiffly inside. I was furious. Paul, what do you think you're doing? Why are you asking for my expulsion? I want you to come back with me, he said, standing up and reaching out to take my hand. I quickly stepped back, avoiding his touch. Go back. Go back and continue watching you and Camila all over each other. His expression froze, and then he angrily retorted. Rita, don't be ridiculous. We're still married. How is it right for you to run off to the south and stay away from me like this? I almost laughed at his shamelessness. Paul, your wife is Camila. The marriage certificate has her name on it, and the person you're thinking of is also her. His face darkened as he gritted his teeth. That was a mistake. Mistakes should be corrected. My past behavior made you misunderstand. I won't act like that anymore. My heart sank. These were familiar lines. He had said them in my previous life too. And what happened afterward? He immediately went back to being sweet with Camila. I turned to the principal and spoke earnestly. Principal, I really want to continue studying here. Please don't expel me. The principal looked at me, then at Paul, and after a brief pause he said, Mr. Liu, since you have no relationship with Rita, you are not authorized to handle her expulsion. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Paul opened his mouth to say something, but the principal cut him off. Mr. Liu, if there's nothing else, please leave. I have work to do. The New Year fireworks painted the sky with color, but my heart was quieter than it had ever been. Sam's confession hung between us like a soft breeze, gentle, unexpected, but not unwelcome. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, the warmth in his smile. And for the first time in a long time I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel like someone who had been used and discarded. Felt whole. I like you too, I finally said, almost surprised at myself. But I'm not ready for anything serious yet. Sam nodded like he understood. That's okay. I can wait. And somehow I believed him. We spent the rest of the holiday quietly, helping Grandma make dumplings, walking through snowy streets, and talking about everything from school to dreams for the future. For once, I wasn't running from something. I was simply living. When I returned to Shanghai, Paul was gone. Camila had left too, back to Beijing with her growing belly and her demands. I heard later that she gave birth to a healthy baby girl, a little girl with dark eyes and quiet smiles. Paul didn't write anymore. First I thought it was strange. But then I realized, he had what he wanted. Child, a wife, a life. He just hadn't realized that none of it truly belonged to him until he let me go. As for me, I threw myself into my studies. Finance came naturally to me now, like a forgotten skill I'd finally remembered. I joined study groups, made real friends, and even started tutoring younger students for extra money. Sam visited sometimes, always with a warm smile and a joke ready. We never talked about love again, not seriously, but we both knew things were different now. There was a quiet understanding between us, a promise unspoken. One day, as spring began to bloom across the campus, Sam handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked, turning it over. "A scholarship offer," he said proudly. "For a semester abroad. South Korea." I stared at it, stunned. It was everything I had dreamed of once, before bitterness took over, before love turned into pain. "Are you going to take it?" he asked softly. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. "Yes," I said. "I think I am." Because this time I wasn't chasing anyone. I wasn't running from pain or clinging to a past life. I was choosing me, my future, my freedom. And maybe, just maybe, when I came back there would still be someone waiting. But even if there wasn't, I would be okay. This time I already was.